joined by one of America's best-known personal finance gurus, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, which advocates breaking out of the rat race by investing in real estate and other businesses to build wealth. And actually an interesting point that came to me just as I was thinking about the show, Robert, is does the financial literacy, or does the skill and the potential skill that can be acquired depend on a person's culture? Do you find variations in the culture of people, the way they approach this?
Yeah, I would definitely say so, but more than just culture, I would say from economic class. If you come from a poor family, what I'm saying is pure heresy. And if you come from an academic family like my family, all PhDs, it's academic heresy. And for the rich, they go, what's so hard about this? So it's not so much about ethnicity or anything like this, because every country has its rich and its poor and middle class, but it's just really what economic class you come from.
What is the conspiracy you refer to in the latest book? When you talk about the conspiracy of the rich, basically, what do you see that to be?
Well, conspiracy of the rich is in two parts. The first part is the history of how we got here, because it didn't just start with this real estate stuff. It's been going on for centuries. For centuries, the rich have always exploited the poor. So the first part of the book is a little bit of history, because if you can see history, you can see the future. And the second part is how guys like me get out of this mess by printing our own money. See, if the real thing is the Federal Reserve Bank in 1913 was formed against the wishes of the U.S. Constitution. The Federal Reserve Bank is not federal. It is owned by the richest European families in the world. It is not a bank. It has no reserves. It has the power to print money as much as it likes. So let's say it issues, it prints $1 billion. That money, they just wrote a check for it. It doesn't exist. It's like just making it up. But they want the interest from the taxpayers to pay the interest on that debt. And that's really what it's about, is about why this economy is collapsing, is because they just started pushing the world into greater and greater debt. And around the year 2002, they started giving home loans to people with no jobs, no income, just to get them to borrow money to keep the economy afloat. But that's 2002 is just a symptom of 1913. So that's the first part of the book, and the second part of the book is how I play according to the rules of the rich. So I'm not against the Federal Reserve Bank. I mean, they're giving me a lot more money now than ever before, but they're not giving it to the poor and middle class. It's tragic.
Interesting you say about, getting out of the rat race and building sort of independent wealth here. We had a question from through Twitter from a viewer who uses the name Falky8773. It says, how and where would the few who control the world find people to be their subordinates if everyone had an empire?
Well, they do it in Conspiracy of the Rich. I write about the conspiracy against the U.S. education system. In 1904, a man named John D. Rockefeller took over the financial education system with a thing called the General Education Board. And then they dictated what the government taught kids in school. So the way they had to do it was one of the ways, not only taking over the banks, but they had to take over the school system. So when you see stuff like that, you'll understand kind of what's going on. And that's why Conspiracy of the Rich, the first part is history. The second part is how guys like me play by the rules of the rich, which is different than going to school and getting a job. They're very different worlds.
Well, there was a viewer from the Philippines who wrote in for the show a question for you, a comment from Abdul Ghani Salapuddin, who wrote in saying, being poor or rich is a matter of choice, not destiny. Our destiny is in our hands. It is up to us to pursue it, to make it happen. But surely not everyone has the same opportunity, do they, Robert?
No, but they don't have it if they're financially uneducated. Like the average person is working, in America, they're working for the U.S. dollar. Well, all over the world, the reserve banks of the world, like the Bank of Japan and all that, are dumping the dollar. And yet people are still working for the dollar. That's why if you read in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I say the rich don't work for money. The rich acquire assets. And so how can a person know anything if they're not financially educated? And they think, well, all I have to do is make more money. Well, what good sense does it make to make more money when the Federal Reserve is printing trillions of dollars? That's financial stupidity. Why work for money when the Fed can print it automatically? That's all I'm saying. Why do that? Why save it? Why save it when they're printing it? I don't know.
What went through your head when the stimulus package and President Obama's sort of attempt to try and put the economy back on track? What went through your mind when you heard about what was going on?
Well, if you read Conspiracy of the Rich, it's on target, on schedule. That's what they're going to do every time. That's what FDR did. That's what Hitler did. That's what Mao Zedong did. It's been done throughout history. It's repeating itself again and again. And you know, like I think Obama's going to come out with what was known as a WPA, the Works Progress Administration, to get people to go back to work, or the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. The way Obama's going to flood the market with money is create these funny jobs, like in the name of the green environment. You can see it now. They're giving people incentives to insulate their homes and all this, but that's the way they get money, funny money, into the system. And you'll see it happening again. History does repeat.
Well, in that, you know, people talk about financial markets, the global markets being in cycles, you know, the bear and bull markets basically going up and down. How does the state of the market play with what you advise? I mean, what should people be watching out for if they're going to follow your advice?
Well, again, in Conspiracy of the Rich, you've got to understand history. In 1913, the Federal Reserve Bank was formed. In 1944 was the Bretton Woods Agreement. The Bretton Woods Agreement basically required all the countries of the world to join the World Bank and the WTO. And to do that, the World Trade Organization, they had to copy the Fed system. And then like the Bank of Japan, they have to store U.S. dollars. Bank of China stores U.S. dollars. And then in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. That was the biggest, you know what, in history. And suddenly the U.S. could now flood the world with funny money. So all the people who are saving U.S. dollars, they're going, what happened? You know, the dollar is dropping in value like a rock, but that's the way the U.S. can pay off its bills. And that's what's happening. So that's why I'm saying to people, you have to learn to use debt. In most financial pundits, they get out of debt. If you're not in debt, you're not playing the game. And then that's why gold and silver are more important today.
Interesting, and just in our live station chat room, there are people around the world discussing this as we go out live. Petros in Cyprus says, don't save, just spend. I disagree with that. If I want a holiday this summer, I wouldn't get it by spending, but saving.
Well, he's a consumer, not a rich man. That's the difference. I have a lot of money, and I can go on any vacation I want. I just don't have to work for the money. He has to probably work and save, and that's a working class mentality. So it's a very different mindset. I have a very different mindset. That's why most people go to school, get a job, work hard, live below your means, save money. That's not my mindset. You know, if that's your mindset, good luck. But you're working for a toxic currency, the dollar or whatever paper, what's called fiat currency. It's disastrous right now. The money supply has been polluted by the U.S. Federal Reserve System.
Robert, how do you bring peace of mind and a sense of happiness into the equation? How do people balance this desire, you know, in your opinion, this desire to get wealthy and develop this kind of financial independence, along with just having some degree of peace of mind, not worrying too much, and actually having a sense of happiness, irrespective of financial status?
Well, a lot of times people say, I'd rather be happy than rich, and my saying is, why not be both? And today in America, there's a lot of people who are not happy because they've lost their jobs or losing their homes, and they don't have enough money to afford health care or retirement. So what's the definition of happiness? So my definition of happiness is to understand money or financial education so that I'm not at the effect of the Federal Reserve or U.S. Treasurer or President Obama. I just want to be an independent person who understands the world of money and has plenty of it, and not have to work and save for it.
In your opinion, has the American dream gone then? Is there still such a thing as the American dream?
I think it's gone. I think, I know everybody's saying that 2010 is going to be a great year. I'm writing a piece called Predictions for 2010. I'm on Yahoo Finance, and I will show you the graphs and charts I look at, and you can make up your own mind. I think we're going into one heck of a time in 2010, 2011, and 2012. So I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm not concerned about me. But if you can see what's coming, maybe you can take some evasive action. The Fed is printing money.
Well, this is what I wonder, is that how can, I mean, when you say take some action, is there just something very basic that people can do if they're worried now, listening to what you're saying? Is there something that the average person can do?
Yeah, right now, I don't care if you have euro or yen or dollars. Right now, I'd be buying silver and gold, and because they're going to, if the U.S. devalues the dollar, everybody else has to devalue their dollar. You see, look, if the U.S. devalues the dollar, that means, let's say you live in England, your exports get too expensive for America, so the Bank of England has to drop its rates, which means inflation goes up in England. So it's this game of chicken being played with money. The irony of it was President Obama, when he was running for president, he said that China was the biggest manipulator of the money supply. That's not true. The United States is. And so I would, if I lived outside the U.S., I'd be watching what the Fed is doing and what they're saying, and be very careful about this thing called money. It's really a currency. It's just paper. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. For the very first time in America, the people who save, they're making less money by putting it into U.S. bonds. The bond rate went down below parity.
Well, I'll tell you,
everything right now, everything is screwy right now. That's what I'm saying, so pay attention.
Robert Kiyosaki, you've certainly given us food for thought. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Good listening to you.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Right now, more than ever, the public needs to hear this.
The conspiracy against your money.
This is why we're here, so we can address the issue before it's too late.
As you've probably noticed, we are living through an economic disaster unlike anything the world has ever seen. People are losing their homes at record rates. Household and government debt is exploding. Good people we love and care about are losing their jobs and their savings. The middle class is shrinking and is in great danger of disappearing altogether. My name is Andrew Cass. As you'll soon see, there is indeed a conspiracy. It's been pulled over the eyes of honest, hardworking citizens like you and me by the people in power. They've kept us in the dark far too long, and we've paid for it far too dearly. But now it's our turn, and it's not too late. We know what happened to your money. We know who took it. And if you're the type of person who's willing to take a stand for yourself, with courage, integrity, and a self-made resolve, we know exactly what you can do about it. You see, most will never have the opportunity to pull back the curtain and look behind it like you are about to. By the end of this DVD, you will know who is taking your money and what you can do about it starting today.